controlled by them. A lot of my friends super, again, not excited. It's like, that far.
Can I do that? Yeah. There we go. Okay.
Do you guys submit to a public interview for the Samuel Proctor Early History Program?
Yes.
Okay, can we just get your names and where you're from?
My name is Jamie Roy. I'm from Miami, Florida. My name is Megan Newsome. I'm from Jacksonville.
And what are you doing here today?
So we came out to show that our organization, AGF, and people in the Gainesville and UF community do not accept Bertrand Spencer's presence here, reject his ideas, fascism, white supremacy, and we want to show our support for our community.
Can you explain what the AGF is?
Yeah, so the Andrew Goodman Foundation is a nonprofit that promotes voting rights and civic engagement, and so we're an on-campus organization that normally does stuff like this, and so I mean, it was appropriate of us to be here. How can we stand up for voting rights and civic engagement and not come out and stand in support of free speech and free speech that promotes a loving and supportive community, not a hateful one?
Yeah, Andrew Goodman himself was murdered by the KKK in the 60s for trying to register African Americans to vote. He was one of three. Michael Shorter and James Chaney were also murdered. So the foundation is meant to kind of live on his legacy, and so we didn't think anything more really symbolic of exactly what was happening then than standing in support of this now to fight for the same causes.
Do you work at a bunch of different campuses in Florida, or?
The foundation as a whole has a program called the Vote Everett program, which we particularly represent. That's what's based around the civic engagement and stuff, and that has campuses across the nation. I think it has 40 schools, or maybe 20 campuses, something like that, but it's a high number of campuses. There's 2 in Florida, 1 at UF, and 1 in Miami-Dade College, so they're across the nation.
Can you describe what kind of work you do for the foundation?
Yeah, of course. So we do voter registration drives, we do other special events, and our chapter particularly, we're working on an initiative to get early voting polling locations at college campuses across the state of Florida, as well as other awareness and outreach about civic engagement and voting rights.
We host activist workshops, teach people how to write or call their congressman or show up at some sessions. Particularly with the early voting location, it's just a really unique scenario that leaves Florida not having early voting locations on college campuses, so our goal is to tackle that legislatively.
Can you guys show us your sign?
Yeah, of course.
What do you think it means to students that there's a Bertrand Spencer type speaker on campus?
Well, I think it should be noted that it wasn't a student who requested that Spencer come here, but clearly there are people who have turned out for him to speak, and that's disappointing. I think maybe it calls attention to the legacy of racism and institutional racism and white supremacy that we have here at the University of Florida, unfortunately. I think he's a danger to our community, but I think the overall response from the university has been great. Everyone has spoken out and said, this isn't what we want, this isn't what our community values.
Just making me realize how much more work we have to do, and it's in part kind of a shame, gosh, we're still doing this over all these years and we still have to do this work to fight white supremacy and its proliferation, but at the same time, clearly we're out here doing it, and if it hasn't stopped yet, we'll be the ones to do it. At least that's the hope. So,
what's your take on the free speech debate?
It is what it is legally. I totally see where the university's coming from, and I can't help but I kept seeing everything they do. Okay, if they do it, they might have a lawsuit on their hands, but maybe it's just the fighter in me. I would just still take that risk and go to court with a lawsuit. Maybe not by immediately denying him the right to the venue, but by everything else that the university has really allowed him to do with the ticket access, with the media access, with even security is a little disturbing. And I do see where they're coming from legally, but I wish they would take that more bold move and kind of represent the students more so and represent peace and goodwill before they represent Bertrand Spencer. That and defend free speech. I also noticed their eagerness to kind of stifle protest. They obviously were telling us we couldn't, but they certainly did try to diminish it. And I, again, got all those emails where they were saying, oh, just try to ignore it, it'll be okay. But that clearly wasn't happening. And they may as well be telling people, we actually have a way to get out here and get involved and put an end to this ourselves, as peacefully as possible, of course. But so I saw that it was a little spooky how they wanted to kind of protect one person's free speech rights to speak and not the other side of free speech in the form of protest and assembly. So, you have anything to say?
I'm
Sorry.
on board with a lot of that. I think also it's really tough to think about free speech when the speech that's in question is about genocide, basically. And it's like, okay, well, this isn't something that really fits with our democracy. How do we deal with that? You know, like if we're regulating speech, a lot of times that can be used not just to curb hate speech, but speech that's unpopular. So it's really hard to like figure how to deal with that. But I do agree that the university response dissuading people from protesting is really disappointing because that is a form of free speech and it's more important than the kind of free speech that's going to go on in the Phillips Center.
Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Go Gators, please vote. And I can't tell you who to vote for, but overall, just try not to support Nazis and white supremacists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.